Hi guys, so today I want to talk about identity. I'd posted about identity a few days ago, and the reason I want to talk about it is because I've seen it's a subject that confuses many guys. Just to be clear, I'd linked to a video posted by Jimmy Gathu. Jimmy Gathu is a former presenter, television presenter. He's also an actor. He's many things, a Kenyan actor. And Jimmy Gathu was talking about him discovering his identity when he was 48 years of age. And in my Facebook post, I posted that I discovered my identity when I was 42 years old. And I just want to read some of the comments that guys made on the Facebook page, just to reflect how this particular subject confuses many people, or makes it it's not very clear for many guys. So someone said that Geoffrey Akungo Molo said that the day you discover who you are is the day you start living for real. All fears disappear. You don't just give a damn anymore. You live as you should. Someone, Stephen Guru, said, I think the whole identity thing is romanticized. I don't even think it exists in the form it's played out to be. And someone, Polo Janabi, said it really takes time and a lot of spiritual awakening to figure it out, and it takes suffering to get it right. And someone also, Ben Wandera, said, why do we talk of identity crisis only when the shit hits the fan? Are we really lost when thriving? Someone said, is it related to any way to one's purpose? Pati Wangui said that, know thyself. When I figured this out, salvation entered my heart. Paul Mwangangi said, to be honest, I have struggled to figure out myself. Still, I have not found myself. Mutechi Confidence Jr. said, identity crisis. I'm still trying to figure out mine. Every day, the vision is getting clearer. Ask Kia, Martin said, or ask, what exactly is someone's identity? Eileen Odero agreed. She said, most people die clueless. Prince George said, age limits many from achieving their dreams now. Instead of focusing on age, let us focus on our true potential. The reason that I really felt I need to talk about this is because the question of identity is so fundamental, and I hope that in this video I'll be able to convey how fundamental it is. The guy who was interviewing Jimmy Gathu, he said something very profound, and he said that many men or people die when they are very rich and they're millionaires, and they don't even know what their identity is. So, and I think linked to that, some people are wondering, okay, so, I mean, why is it even important? This identity thing, why is it even important? I mean, it's being romanticized, what's the big deal? So I want to talk about this. For me, let me start with myself, and then I go to the conventional understanding and meanings about identity. For me, discovering who I was meant discovering who I am as a man. It meant discovering the infrastructure that embeds my thoughts, my feelings, my ideas. It meant understanding my entire anatomy, what drives me, what am I made of, what am I capable of. I actually didn't know this. You know, when you go to school, you learn about biology, you learn about many things, but you don't really look inwards in terms of who you know, who you are. You're just looking in terms of what's going on out there, and you're grasping it, and you're fitting into roles. I am a student, I'm an employee, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm a husband. You don't really look at yourself like, who exactly am I? And I think for many guys who are interested in the question of identity. I think my Unplugged one actually does a fairly good job of this, and also Unplugged 2, a bit of it. And I need to talk about this because identity is also tied to purpose for many guys, but it's not the same. But we're going to look at that in a short while. There is this book, The Two-Body Problem, which I published this year. The two-body problem also is about the gender role inversion, and many times masculine identity is also attached to masculine roles, masculine purpose, and your mission. We normally say that a man without mission is a man without meaning. So first of all, what is identity? I had a talk about identity in 2023 in Nairobi, and I tied identity to the question of frame. Okay, I normally say that the person who is convinced always convinces the person who is not convinced. And in the context of identity, if today I started drawing paintings and putting them outside and for people to see, people will say, oh, Jacob is drawing. Jacob has started drawing. If I continue doing so, people will stop even calling me Jacob. They'll call me the painter. Have you seen that painter? That painter who is normally here. There's that guy. Oh, that guy, the painter. So it means now I have created, people have entered my frame in the sense that they have accepted that I am a painter. They have accepted my identity. You know, there's sometimes when you play certain roles, people say you are a pretender, you are an imposter, and so on. So the question of identity also, if you consistently see yourself in a certain way, people actually buy into how you see yourself, and they identify you the way you see yourself. So I want to break this one down and why it is important. I think around a year ago, we had a case of a very senior director at the DCI who committed suicide because his wife had divorced him, and he was alienated from his children. And for me, that man killed himself because he did not have a sense of identity. Many men who commit suicide because they've lost their jobs, because their wives have left them, because they have suffered some certain losses. Most of the times, the reason these losses spell an existential crisis for these men is because they don't have a stable identity. And also, the reason I'm very passionate about identity is because without a stable identity, you cannot have self-belief. Without self-belief as a man, you cannot commit yourself to a purpose, because committing yourself to a purpose requires you to be able to deal with a lot of adversity, to be able to survive failure. You cannot be resilient if you don't have a strong sense of identity. So identity is what makes it possible for us to become consistent on a certain course when you're focused on a certain pursuit for several years. Without a stable identity, you cannot pursue anything long term. And without identity, you also cannot survive losses. Many men, remember, we normally say that women attempt suicide to get attention. But men, when they commit suicide, it's because they consider it to be a practical solution to whatever crisis they are going through. Okay? And that's why many men, when they commit suicide, they actually succeed. So it's not, they really mean it. But many women can just do it when they want to get attention. So it's very, very important. It's a matter of life and death. And for many men, I've seen, for example, guys who are in terrible relationships or terrible marriages, because they don't know who they are, they don't have an identity, they don't know how to get out of those relationships because their identity is tied to those relationships, and because they don't know who they would be outside of those relationships. Many guys are doing jobs that they hate because of a weak sense of identity. They don't know what they would be without those jobs. I like something that Brad Pitt says in Fight Club. He says, "You're not your job." And that's something many men are yet to think about or deal with. So let's go to the beginning. What is your identity. So your identity is the story that you tell yourself about who you are. And many guys, before they are unplugged, many men normally identify themselves through things they are attached to. So when you're in a party or you're in a gathering, someone steps forward and says, "Hi, I am Mike. I'm a husband and a father of 2 children, and I'm an accountant in a bank." Okay? So they identify themselves with the people attached to them and the job that they do. Okay? A job that can be taken away from them anytime, and they are in marriages that they can actually be divorced by their wives at any time. So when a man identifies himself using his job and his relationships, when those relationships end, many times it spells for them an existential crisis. They spiral into depression, they start using drugs, they commit suicide, and so on. So it's very, very important to realize and to know how you identify yourself. So when you're looking at your identity, you have to ask yourself, who am I? What do I stand for? What am I here to do? Why are you here? My mother, God rest her soul. My mother used to tell us when we were young children, when we were being naughty and troublesome, she just used to tell us, find yourself, find something that you can do. She used to tell us that. Find something that you can do. So for her, she used to feel that the reason we are being naughty or troublesome is because we lacked something to do. We could not assign ourselves a purpose or a task to do. So what am I here to do is very, very important for you to do as a man. Many men end up in trouble, in jail, in accidents, because they don't know what to do. They again end up in dangerous tasks or activities like mattress surfing and other dangerous activities that young men get involved in. And that is why many men who don't have many young men in the past, and even today, when a man starts becoming very troublesome, he's told, why don't you get married? Because many times when men get married and they have a wife and children, the wife and children anchor them and they become their purpose. So in the olden days, that is what used to happen. And for many guys who don't have self-awareness, it is enough to be grounded with the family. Okay, we are going to come to that. So as I mentioned earlier, building a stable self is essential for resilience, purpose, and direction in adulthood. So this is very, very important. And identity is what stops you from making random decisions and engaging into random actions. A friend can call you right now, hey, Saza, uko home. Kuja tukutane so and this place. If you don't have a strong sense of identity, you don't know whether to say no or to say yes. You'll just say, okay, I've been called, I'm going. You'll go with the wind. But when you have a strong sense of identity, then you can see whether what is being proposed is aligning with who you are or otherwise. Okay? Many men also are struggling with identity because in many cases, identity is also tied with a purpose. Okay? Traditionally, if you look, for example, at the Bible, you're told that Jesus was the son of a carpenter. People were identified by their crafts. We had fishermen, we had carpenters, we had tax collectors. That is how men were identified. And this has continued to date. Many people identify themselves using their jobs or their professions. Okay? And we say that purpose often grows out of identity. For example, if you see yourself as a teacher, you're going to seek knowledge and you're going to be drawn to gathering knowledge and disseminating it. If you see yourself as a protector, you're also going to be defending people, protecting them. Identity can also be drawn from, if you look at Carl Jung, he had what we call archetypes. You can be identifying yourself as a hero, you identify yourself as a mother, you identify yourself as a leader, and so on and so forth. That can also influence your purpose and how you identify yourself. So identity is important because it helps you to deal with loss. As I mentioned earlier, many times for many men, loss spells annihilation for many men. We normally say that women normally bend, but men break. And this breaking is normally tied to their weak sense of identity. If you have a strong sense of identity, you find you can actually survive a crisis much better. So with a clarified identity, you can say, even without this, I'm still me. Job loss, end of a relationship, end of a marriage, and so on. You know who you are. And in a sense, a growth mindset also comes with a strong sense of identity. People normally attach themselves to things when they don't realize what they're capable of. They don't know that what they can create, what they can produce. So they tie themselves to the present. There is a man called Viktor Frankl who wrote A Man's Search for Meaning. His book called A Man's Search for Meaning. He said that people who survived unimaginable suffering, okay? He went through all those, the camps for, where the concentration camps where the Jews were being tortured. He said that the people who survived unimaginable suffering, okay, in concentration camps, they survived because they anchored their meaning beyond the immediate circumstances. So that again, now that is tied to purpose, not exactly meaning, but not exactly identity, but you can shape your identity according to the purpose that you pick for yourselves. So clarifying your identity is like building a foundation. You need to know who you are, what you're capable of, and then you build your purpose on that as a foundation. So purpose grows on your identity as a foundation, and resilience is going to flow from it. Confidence is also going to flow from it. And this is why identity is very important, so that you can have a strong sense of your self-image can be strong. Because remember, whenever you want to do anything that is out of, maybe you're born from a poor family, or you're in a family where everyone is a farmer, but you want to be an IT programmer, okay? Or you've decided you want to be a chemist or a surgeon. They're going to ask you, who do you think you are? I mean, you think we are stupid for us to be farmers. So if you don't have a strong sense of self, you're not going to be able to have an identity. Your identity, people will try to define you. People will tell you, for example, you're not made for this. You try maybe writing books or writing code, you start failing. They tell you, by the way, you're not made for this. So why don't you try selling shoes or working in an organization? You're not made for this. So the sense of self is very important, and because it's tied to your sense of identity. Without a strong sense of self, you're not going to be able to pursue whatever it is you want to pursue. So self-image, self-belief is very important for you to deal with adversity. When you know who you are, and I think Jimmy Gatto mentions this, when you know who you are, you can face anything that life throws at you, okay? But when you don't know who you are, it's very easy to shake you. Because in essence, you're like someone who's holding on to things, you're grasping onto things. But when you know who you are, then you know you are okay. Even without all those things, when you lose everything, when everything is taken away, you know you are not losing yourself. Because yourself is your identity. Okay? So, identity is also very important because it helps you to draw boundaries. There's a point in the Bible when Jesus' disciples are telling him what people are saying and so on and so forth. And Jesus asks them a question. He asks them, who do you say I am? So that is very, very important. It is important for you to know what people say you are, okay? So that you don't focus so much on allowing them to instead define you. How do they see you? That is more important than them telling you who you're supposed to be, okay? And identity is also tied to bigger things. When you're looking at, nowadays we talk about LGBTQ, cross-dressers, people are suffering from gender dysphoria. It's a question of identity. So identity can go very, very deep in terms of that. So as I mentioned earlier, your identity helps you to ground your purpose. The two-body problem is about how men who did not have a stable identity compromised their missions, and in the end, their own relationship, the relationship that they valued. So for men, this subject is important because many men who lack identity, they're filled with a search a need for belonging, and many times find their belonging in relationships. And when you find a woman that you love, you then dissolve your identity into that union. You find many guys who have hobbies. You find a guy, he loves maybe playing basketball or watching football or whatever it is the hobby could be. He gets married, he stops hanging out with his friends, and now he wants to spend all the time with his wife. That is normally because this guy did not have a stable identity. So now he gives up his own identity and takes up the new identity under the woman. Okay? And that's what we call betadization, become a beta male. So it's very, very important for men to have an identity. Realize who you are, realize what you're made of, realize your purpose, and anchor your entire existence on that purpose, or on making yourself succeed in whatever purpose you are. That is the best way to live as a man. There's an American statesman who said that a man wrapped in his own self makes a very small package. It basically means if you are a man but you don't have an identity or a mission, then your importance in the society is very, very limited. And it's important for men to remember that men are born without value. You have to create your own value in the society. And one way of doing this is by anchoring yourself in your identity and in your purpose. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you, guys.